Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Double Bonus Show. I am your host, Jake Malenzik. Today, I've got another floor ceiling video for you. If you haven't seen one of these or you didn't see the last one, essentially, it is a kind of a conference by conference outlook at March Madness. It's essentially the floor, how many teams is your low, and your ceiling, how many teams is your high in terms of bids that could go to the NCAA tournament. Did this about a month ago, and I wanted to go through it, wanted to retry and kind of not retry, but kind of update where we are now. I've upped my bracketology game a little bit. I've made my own seed list. I've made some of my own spots, so I have a little bit more of an idea of where teams are and where conferences are. And I wanted to go over today where some of these conferences are going to land in terms of bids in the tourney. I still, at my core, love looking at bracketology conference by conference by conference and in tiers rather than just a giant seed list. I did put together a giant seed list. I do have like what seed I think every team is going to get, but I still prefer, especially in on this channel and in videos, to look at it this way. We are going to start with the ACC. If you remember last time, I believe they were a 3-5. This time I've changed them to a 3-6. Three teams are pretty much good to go. That's Duke, Louisville, and Clemson. I don't think that they're all locks. Well, Duke is a lock, obviously, but Louisville and Clemson are, if they're not locks, they're as close to as a lock as you can be without being in. So those three are good to go. 6 is if Wake Forest, who's in the tournament as of now, UNC and SMU can slide in. I don't, in my heart, believe that UNC and SMU are going to slide in. However, there's a world where if these two teams keep winning, SMU just picked up a big win. Not big in the sense of like it was big because they won by a lot, not big in terms of it's helping them get closer to the tourney. A big win against Notre Dame in South Bend. So that's, from a metric standpoint, that's really good for SMU. UNC just, blew out NC State at home. Both of those aren't needle movers, but they both are helping those two teams stay alive. Wake Forest, I have them still in 3-6 because UNC and SMU aren't out yet, but I don't think they're going to get to 6. And the 3 is because Wake Forest is not in yet. Wake Forest could still lose a few games and still lose their way out of the tournament, which does not happen often. Keep that in mind. More teams play in than play out, but Wake could still play themselves out. So I think it's going to be 3-6. Where do I think they land? I think they're going to land at 4. I think Wake Forest is going to get in. The Big Ten I have at 9-11. This is a good range for the Big Ten. This is from where the conference looked like it might be at early to where it is now. I think they've landed in a really, really good spot. Nebraska has made great strides to get closer. Ohio State has made really good strides to get closer. Michigan is obviously a much better team this year. Michigan State is a much stronger team this year. Wisconsin looks like a whole new version of that team. So this is a stronger league, and that's not just because they added Oregon and UCLA and USC too. Now, USC and Washington, I don't want to discredit Washington. They're not having the best year, but they added those teams, but they got stronger in the teams they already had. And that was really important for the Big Ten because they needed to become a stronger league. I think they've done that this year. I think they're 9-11. Where does the 9 come in, you're probably wondering? That's if Ohio State and Nebraska, one of those two teams slides off, right? In the tournament right now without the bubble is Oregon, UCLA, Maryland, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue, and Illinois. That's 8. I think that one of Nebraska or Ohio State would still get in, or one of the two of them is destined to get in. I really believe that both will. I think they'll get to 10, but there's still a chance that one of those two teams falls off the bubble. Nebraska did just have a tough loss at Penn State. Road losses don't hurt you as much, right? They're still in because of that, but you can't be, does one loss lead to another because of lack of confidence, or do they go on a losing streak, or whatever it might be? Ohio State has a landmine to dodge today as of recording this on Thursday. They've got to survive Northwestern, so there's still a chance. And then the 11th team is Indiana. They're not that far out. They're not that close, but for the Hoosiers, it's just keep winning, keep trying to rack up big wins. You never know what might happen. if you just keep winning. And I think for the Hoosiers, it's just find a way to steal one of these games. They've been so close to like stealing a big game on the road. They've been so close to securing their marquee win, and they just haven't gotten it yet. If they can find a way to get one, they're not that far off on a weak bubble. That's how they get to 11. I think this league lands at 10. On to the Big East. I believe they are a 3 to 5 still. I think this is where I had them last time. I'm fairly confident that this league is going to get 4. UConn is in as of now. They're not that close to the bubble yet. They're still in the 8-9 range. They're not in like the 9-10, 10-11 range. So they're still okay. They have a tough schedule, and if they keep losing and then have a poor performance in the Big East tournament, I'm just going to get a little bit worried about them. But I think at the end of the day, they are probably still good. Like, I think at the end of the day, they're going to make it. I think this league's going to land at 4. Xavier is close. They have to win out and probably still at least win one game in the Big East tournament. So there's a chance. Like, the Musketeers aren't out of it yet either. So I think that's the 5. Marquette, St. John's, and Creighton are probably all good as well. Marquette and St. John's are in. Creighton is probably good, and UConn should be good. So I'm going to leave them at 4, but if UConn struggles down the stretch, I could see them missing, which would be just shocking, by the way. Big 12, I have 7 to 9. Their 9th team, we're going to just start with it, is Cincinnati. Really tough loss for Cincinnati last night at West Virginia. Led by 6 with I didn't want to say 8-9 minutes left in the game. They led by 6. They had a chance. It was 47-41. They were defending their tails off. They really were not letting West Virginia get easy buckets. And then the Mountaineers got on a little run, couple of offensive rebounds from my guy, Imani Hansberry. I tweeted about him. He was awesome in that game. He had some big buckets. Freshman Jonathan Powell with some big shots. West Virginia powered their way. They stay pretty safe with that win, and they pushed Cincinnati. That would have been Cincinnati's second quad 1 win. It probably would have gotten them, if not in, way closer. Now they have more work to do. The 7 in this case is if BYU fades. BYU is way closer to in than they are to out, but they still need to win a couple to get in, so I can't just automatically say they're going to make it. I think they are, but on the off chance that they miss, that's where the 7 comes from. I have to be you have to be worst case, best case for some of these conferences, right? So worst case scenario for the Big 12 is that BYU loses out or loses, 3 out of 4 or whatever it is down the stretch and puts themselves in a harder position to make the tournament, especially in a year where bid stealers are so strong. This is an interesting year. It's a weak bubble, so it's easier to get in, but it's also going to be harder to stay in because I think there's a few leagues, especially some mid-major leagues, that could get their bids stolen. So we'll see how that goes. I do truly believe in BYU. They're playing really well, and it helps a lot to have a lottery pick freshman in Yegor Demon. And it also helps a lot to have a guy like Richie Saunders who's playing the best basketball of his entire life right now. Those two things have been really helping BYU. So I give those two guys a ton of credit. I give BYU a ton of credit. They've been playing their best ball lately, which is really important. All right, let's move on. West Coast Conference, still 1-2. I do think St. Mary's is a lock. I think they're good to go. Gonzaga is probably good. The thing about Gonzaga is predictive metrics like Ken Pom, Torvik, BPI, all that stuff. Love them. Absolutely love them. They're 9, 11, 12. They have a 10 average, predictive average, which is one of the best in the country. Their results average is tough. If they lose 1 or 2 more games that they should win, that's where things get tough for Gonzaga. I don't think they're going to, but again, worst case scenario, if Gonzaga plays like they did when they lost at home to Santa Clara, then they're probably not going to make the tournament. But if they play up to their true potential, which is some big wins in the non-con against teams like Baylor, then yeah, maybe we could see this team find their stride and even slide closer to the 7 line. But you have to just be, and look, one of these teams is in anyway. I mean, one is a tough ceiling, it's a tough floor because every conference is getting one because somebody's going to win the league anyways. But I do think Gonzaga is going to be fine. If Gonzaga is not fine, they might just go win the West Coast Conference tournament anyways, and then they'll be safe. But I truly believe in them, so I think they're going to be fine. The only other one that's a little bit interesting that I have anywhere, 1 to 4. I have a 1 to 4. That's in the Mountain West. I truly, truly, truly believe that they're going to land with 3. Right now, I have Utah State, New Mexico, and San Diego State in. Boise State has work to do, and they have a lot of work to do. They are out of it, and they're deeper on the bubble than a lot of these other teams that we've talked about in terms of bubble. They're probably like 9 teams out. So you have like first 4 out, next 4 out, then you have Boise State. But picked up a key quad 2 win at home against New Mexico. The funny thing about their schedule is they don't have any quad 1s left unless Nevada changes to a quad 1 here within the next week or so, or within the next couple of days when they play them. But again, the net can change, and that can move to a quad 1 win. Things can change for them, so we'll kind of see. We'll see how that goes for Boise, but they have 2 games left that are quad 2 games. I think Colorado State might be quad 2 by the time they play them late in the season. Home versus Utah State and at Nevada are definitely going to be. So I think that they still have an opportunity to really raise their strength of record, pick up some wins that kind of get them a little bit closer. And then, look, all you got to do if you're Boise State, I think, is if they win out, which is entirely possible for them to do, you put yourself in position to at least have your name, you put yourself in position to at least be in consideration. You put yourself in position to leave it up to the committee. You put yourself in position to say, hey, we're going to win another game. We're going to beat somebody in the Mountain West tournament too, and we're going to win 6 in a row or 7 in a row, and we're really going to make things interesting. So I'm excited to watch Boise. They actually played really, really well against New Mexico. They're a strong team. They are talented. If they make a run in the Mountain West tournament, that could still get them in too. So I really believe that Boise State is not close, but certainly not that far. So I'm leaving the Mountain West as a 1-4. I truly think they're going to get 3, but man, it would be really fun if a conference that looked like it was having a down year still landed and still got 4 bids, because Colorado State hasn't been as good. Nevada hasn't been as good. And this was a team that was did they have 6 bids last year? I think they did. If I remember correctly, Utah State, New Mexico, San Diego State, Boise State, and Nevada, and Colorado State, I believe all made it. The Mountain West is a capable conference of getting 6 bids. I really want them to get 4. Other conferences to watch out for multiple bids. The A10, if VCU or George Mason can get in at large. One of the other 2 teams there could win. There's other teams that could steal a bid. The AAC, Memphis is in. I could see somebody stealing their bid. The Big West, UC Irvine, and UC San Diego. 2 teams again. If one of them snatches an at-large, I could see the other one stealing the bid in the conference. The Missouri Valley, another one. Drake is probably going to be an at-large, or they're certainly close. I could see a Bradley or a Northern Iowa or somebody in that league stealing it. There are plenty of conferences out there that could be multiple bid leagues this year. I think more than we're probably accustomed to, or some leagues that we didn't expect at the beginning of the year to have that opportunity. So keep that in mind as well. There are typical or 1 bid leagues that we're looking at now that have 1 that could certainly get to 2. There'll probably be a video. I'm probably going to do it right at the end of February, right at the beginning of March. Conference tournament season is literally 2 weeks away. They start March 2nd. I want to do a video about bid stealers, so we'll talk about that too. That'll be a whole nother topic for another day, hey, which 1 bid league is going to get 2 if they get a bid stolen? We'll talk about that, but keep those names, keep those teams in mind. With that, I'm going to wrap up for today. This is Floor Ceiling Part 2. There'll be 1 more of these right before the NCAA tournament, kind of right before the committee releases theirs. I will give you my best guess as to where I think every conference is. Leave a comment down below what you think about some of these teams. Do you have a different opinion on some conferences? Do you have a different opinion on some teams? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. If you listen to this as a podcast, make sure you subscribe to me on Apple Podcasts. Unfortunately, not on Spotify yet, but I'm working to get there. Follow me on Twitter. It's @DoubleBonusShow. Follow me on TikTok, at Double Bonus Show. Most importantly, though, have a great rest of your day.